They say beauty can hide terrible secrets, and in the quiet town of Junee, Australia, there is a house that proves it. Real photos at the end, so stick around. High on a hill sits the Monte Cristo Homestead, a Victorian masterpiece. In the sunlight, it looks like something out of a painting. Red brick, iron lace balconies, sweeping views of the countryside. But as the sun dips, locals warn you, this house changes. Monte Cristo is called Australia's most haunted home for a reason. People don't just hear whispers or see shadows here. They leave with bruises, claw marks, and nightmares that follow them home. The story begins with Christopher William Crawley, a modest farmer turned railway tycoon. When the Great Southern Railway came through Junee in the 1870s, Crawley seized the chance to build his fortune. With his wealth, he commissioned Monte Cristo in 1885, a mansion meant to display power and permanence. Christopher's wife, Elizabeth Crawley, was known for her devout Catholic faith and iron will. After Christopher's death in 1910, Elizabeth withdrew almost entirely from public life, spending decades confined to the upper rooms of the house. Servants brought her food. She rarely stepped outside. Locals whispered she ruled Monte Cristo like a prison, locking herself away yet leaving an aura of judgment that still lingers. Some say Elizabeth's energy is imprinted so strongly on the house that visitors feel watched in every room, as though her eyes still follow them from the shadows. But the Crawleys weren't alone in Monte Cristo's halls. Tragedy stalked their servants and staff. In the stables, a young boy's bedding caught fire. He was burned alive before anyone could reach him. Visitors say the smell of smoke sometimes chokes them as they walk past the old barn. And faint cries echo, though the building is empty. A maid is said to have plunged from the balcony. Some say she slipped. Others claim she was pushed after falling pregnant by Mr. Crawley. Her broken figure was found below. Guests standing under the balcony often report icy winds rushing past them on still nights. A caretaker was shot dead in a shocking act of violence on the grounds. His angry figure is still spotted pacing inside, glaring at those who intrude. And the most horrifying, a nanny dropping a baby down the grand staircase, insisting unseen hands forced her to let go. Visitors still hear phantom cries on those steps, and some claim they've been shoved themselves. And then, the darkest story of all. A servant boy with severe mental illness was kept chained in the caretaker's cottage. When he was finally found, malnourished and filthy, townspeople said he had become like an animal. His suffering is believed to fuel some of the most violent energy in Monte Cristo. Visitors who step inside his old quarters report being scratched, pushed, or suddenly overtaken by anger they can't explain. Today, the mansion is a museum and guest house owned by the Ryan family, but they admit the haunting never rests. Visitors often collapse during tours, gasping that the air is too heavy. Others are scratched, long red welts rising across their arms and backs. Paranormal investigators describe growls caught on tape, children's laughter in the nursery, and shadow figures darting from room to room. One guest woke in the middle of the night to see a tall, dark figure pinning him down in bed. He said it felt like hands were wrapped around his throat. The next morning, angry red marks ringed his neck. Another tourist in the nursery reported feeling tiny, icy fingers slip into her hand. She thought it was part of the tour, until she turned and saw she was completely alone. Even priests who tried to bless the house described an oppressive presence that resisted them, slamming doors and filling rooms with freezing air. By the mid-20th century, Monte Cristo wasn't just a house. It was a legend. Locals avoided the mansion after sundown, claiming lights flickered in the upper windows when the property was abandoned. Some swore they saw a woman in black standing on the balcony, staring silently down at the town below. When the Ryan family purchased Monte Cristo in the 1960s, they planned to restore it as a historic site. What they didn't expect was how active the hauntings would be. They've admitted openly, not a single night passes without something happening. Over the years, Monte Cristo has drawn paranormal investigators, journalists, and even film crews from around the world. Ghost tours often end abruptly when guests collapse, burst into tears, or flee in terror. Recordings capture phantom voices, whispers calling names, growls, and cries. Photographs show strange mists and orbs, sometimes forming outlines of human figures. On multiple occasions, visitors have left with deep scratches and bruises they couldn't explain. Some investigators believe the property holds not just human spirits, but something darker, a demonic presence tied to the cruelty and suffering on the land. One guest claimed she awoke in the master bedroom to see a shadowy man looming over her bed. She tried to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. She felt icy hands press against her chest until she nearly blacked out. The next morning, bruises shaped like fingers were imprinted on her skin. Another group reported leaving toys in the nursery overnight as a test. When they returned, the rocking chair was swaying, and a ball rolled slowly across the floor toward them, with no draft, no slope, and no explanation. Several priests attempted blessings. One described the house as resistant, as if the walls themselves pushed back against his prayers. Doors slammed violently during the ritual, and an overwhelming stench of decay filled the air until he fled. What sets Monte Cristo apart is the weight of the atmosphere. Many haunted locations are eerie, but visitors describe Monte Cristo as oppressive, like the house itself is aware of you. Tour guides say first-timers often walk in smiling, only for their expressions to change within minutes as the pressure sets in. It's not just the sights and sounds. Guests often feel drained, dizzy, or physically ill inside. Some collapse without warning, as though the energy has pulled the strength from their bodies. And for some, the haunting doesn't stop at the door. Visitors frequently report nightmares, phantom touches, and strange activity in their own homes after returning from Monte Cristo. The Ryans continue to operate Monte Cristo as both a museum and one of Australia's premier haunted attractions. They honor the history, but they don't hide the truth. The house is alive with something no one can explain. People travel from across the world to experience it, and many leave convinced they encountered true evil. Even seasoned investigators have admitted Monte Cristo shook them more than any other location. So, what is Monte Cristo Homestead? A relic of Victorian wealth? A prison of restless souls? Or something darker? A house that feeds on suffering and refuses to release its grip? One thing is certain. This isn't just a ghost story. Monte Cristo has attacked, scratched, and terrified thousands. And its reputation as Australia's most haunted house only grows stronger with each passing year. Would you dare step through its doors at midnight knowing the house doesn't just watch you? It might touch you? Comment your answer below. Hit like if this gave you chills and follow for more.